Good morning, everybody. It's the pollinator. Following this little announcement, I suppose, I'm going to play a video that I want to make crystal clear that it's directed at a group me and my homie founded a couple of years ago. And I want to make it clear that I'm talking to them. If you find that you identify with what I'm talking about, great. I'm a product of my generation. A lot of the stuff that I will be talking about is particular to my generation, not necessarily this new direction that the trans community has been going in for the last 3 years. Because what I'm finding is it's getting more and more apparent to me that it's become very fluid. And I can't say that I don't believe in it, because it's really happening, but I don't live in that world. I live in a world where me and my homie have discovered that manhood is an important conversation to have, and it's being booed and shut out of a lot of different places in this world. And I myself, when I used to be on a social media platform, I kept getting kicked out of the group for even bringing it up. Or a whole bunch of them would jump on me and do a dog pile because of this topic. So consider this the content warning of the video I'm just about to play. So hold on to your seats, and I think you guys in the group are going to appreciate it. Here goes. Wakanda forever. Uh-oh, gonna fall out this chair. Good evening, everybody. It's the pollinator, and before I get started with this topic, this is the second video I'm making back to back here, because I figure I better make it. I can do all the edits later. I better make it now before I run out of energy to do these, because it does take something different to put yourself out here in the public. So this video is about, did I say to hit? This hit shows up over here. Did I do over there last time? I think I did. If you like the content of my videos, if you don't like it, you can still hit a button over here, up here, down, or subscribe to my channel. That's also over here. And from time to time I put videos up here, and I'll put links to things in the description. So it's Sunday evening, and I wanted to talk about something that I have talked about before, but I don't think I made a whole video about it. And that is the concept of my Trans Gentlemen's Club that I was a mastermind of. Me and my homie created it, and then have people running the group. It's over on Fucker Book, but without my main account, without me having an account, it's very difficult for me to manage. So last night we were talking about this, and he's like, "Man, you hit a gold mine, and you know why? Trans Gentlemen Club is just, it's a gold mine, and it's something that transgender people don't talk about, and it's very prevalent in our community." So not only are trans men trying to forget this step, so are transgender women. Now, I can't speak for non-binary people because they're too busy trying to be non-binary. So they don't fall in this category of man or woman. And this conversation is for people who have embraced that. I don't know if you call it a concept, but to outsiders it would sound like a concept. But embrace themselves as the opposite man or woman that they were born as, that they identify with their birth certificate. Trans just means you don't identify with the gender that's on your birth certificate, and cisgender, cis means you do identify with that. What they put on that birth certificate is what you think you are, what you know yourself to be. It's a lot easier for cis folks because they've got science behind it, you know, they've got the biology behind it. But when it's the opposite, then you get the pushback from all of society, which right now is getting ready to get real fucking intense, and people aren't paying attention. But in a lot of states, in the United States, they're getting ready to roll back a bunch of things dealing with transgender people. So you better look in your state to see what kind of politics are getting ready to come down the pipe. But this thing that's very prevalent is the idea, the notion that people think transitioning to the gender they know themselves to be is just about the physical aspects of looking that way. Meanwhile, they're still acting the same way that they were acting before they transitioned. So they look one way, but they behave another, which can be very confusing to society as a whole, let alone this whole other group of people who reject gender altogether. But it's when you're looking one way but behaving another, you're missing something that you don't even know you're missing. Have you ever done something in your life that you know when you got to the other side, it was spectacular, it was amazing, things happened that you didn't even know were going to happen, you were started here and you ended up here because you went through that, and then you're dealing with somebody who's talking about the same subject, and you know what's on the other side is magnificent, but they don't get that it's magnificent. They have no idea what they're missing. They don't know that on the other side is fulfillment, confidence, courage, love, self-love, happiness, a bunch of stuff that they don't even know is missing. You end up getting if you run straight at who the hell you really are and you do it all the way. Not halfway. Halfway is transitioning to look that way, but you're not acting that way. I can't tell you the number of transgender women who still act like men. Act like men. They're not men, but they behave that way because they were socialized that way. And they're not willing to let go of that for nothing. Nothing, because guess what? They had a lot of privileges as men when people thought that's what they were, and they ain't trying to let go of any of that. The transgender women want to keep their gay card, and transgender men want to keep their lesbian card. And the transgender men want to keep acting like women, and transgender women want to keep acting like men. The biggest turnoff in the world to me is a woman who acts like a man. That irks me. It irks me, and it irks my buddy, and both of us figured out early on in our transition that we needed to re-socialize as men. And I'm saying this to you gentlemen in my group that we created for y'all, that we know why y'all being so quiet. You know, we were talking about this last night. It was like, ooh, they don't want, if they open their mouth, people will see how feminine they are. And they ain't trying to let go. Subconsciously, they're trying to hold on to those ways of being because they don't know that what's on the other side is a life that they never imagined they could have. as a result of embracing all of themselves, not the physical aspects of themselves, all of themselves, all the way, dive all the way in, run towards the fears that you have about being a man. And you transgender women need to run right at the fears you have of being a woman and re-socialize yourselves as such. Now, I don't care how you do it. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it just hanging around trans people, because they're all, 90% of them are all keeping their mentality as the gender that they were born biologically as. Sometimes I envy intersex people because they really have to choose. Well, you know what? They don't. They choose a gender too, but they continue to hold on to who they were before they realized, no, wait a minute. What happened at birth is not, the decisions that my parents made is not who I was. But the parents don't know, because when you're an infant, you can't tell them, oh, by the way, you cut off my penis, or, you know, you made the wrong decision. Now, if the baby wanted to be, if the baby turned out to be the opposite gender, or was it the same? Yeah, the opposite gender. There was really not a way that they could know that the one needed breasts or whatever later on in life, or that they would need access to the HRT for that gender. Intersex people still have to go through something very, very similar to us. But look, gentlemen, we know your struggle. We know what you're struggling with. We know that you are afraid to say anything in case we can see how truly, truly feminine you are. And transgender women, they don't want to hear it either. They don't want us to say, you know what, you're acting awful masculine for a woman. So they don't say anything. And that's why for 2 years that thing has been around, that group has been around, and very few people interact in there. And it's weird because I won't let nobody abuse these men, these gentlemen. I won't let anybody abuse them, but they don't, it's not about that. I don't think it's about that. It's about them not wanting to come out that they need help in getting there. That they don't know what's on the other side of that, on the other side of them running straight at who they are as men and learning about manhood. They don't intrinsically know about that. They don't. It's not like something that just magically happens. Because we were socialized to be seen and not heard. We were socialized to take less than men. We were socialized pay-wise in a job. We were socialized to be afraid of men. Thus, those same people are afraid as men. One of the biggest things that the stealth transgender people say is for our safety. No, it's from fear. Not fear of getting, well, it could be fear of getting beat up too. But guess what? If you embrace yourself as a man and you think that you need to defend yourself, you would just go to a self-defense class, or just learn how to have that kind of physical strength and aggression to be able to defend yourself. You would be doing all of the things that men do to become strong, to become self-sufficient, to become self-reliant. To, you know, I know trans men right now who are hanging on to their femininity because people take care of them when they think they're women. Ooh, deep, huh? Look, if they knew 100% that they were men, they would not treat them like women and think that they need to be taken care of. So those trans men are holding on to their femininity because it's getting them an open door to something that they are too afraid to attack themselves. They are too afraid to learn how to be self-sufficient, self-reliant, and independent Seriously independent. Because the world don't, one of the things they're afraid of that they see every day is that the world does not care about men. Men care about themselves. And not in a selfish manner. I mean, they care about picking themselves up, dusting themselves off, and doing what it takes to win in life. Competition comes into picture. Now, the way these sissified trans men act is they compete for popularity. What? The fuck cares about? Popularity isn't going to pay your rent. Popularity isn't going to make you successful. It'll make you look successful. But you know how many trans men I know of that became real popular real fast because they were good. They got on a talk show, or they got on some kind of crazy show like Jerry Springer. They did something, and for about 2 days they were popular. And then when that wore off, all those people that jumped up and saw them as the it guy went away. And they were right back to square one, trying to deny who they were as men, not doing what was necessary to embrace the man in them, their manhood. Y'all just don't know what's on the other side of doing that. Once you go through all of the emotional stuff that you have to go through to recognize the femininity in you and pluck it out. Once you get to the other side of that and you are 100% who you said you were when you embraced it, is a very enriched life, enriched emotions, enriched thinking about things in life. Here's another thing about trans men, and it's the opposite for trans women. So everything I'm saying for trans men applies to trans women, just the opposite. And I lost my train of thought. When you embrace yourself as a man, you get to let go of victim mentality. And guess what? People like that mentality. Well, women like that mentality. Women have that mentality. Women tend to be more martyrs than any other gender on the planet. Aside from non-binary, as not a gender, but they're still into victim mentality as well. So you have to let go of that, being victim. And some people, it's like a drug, being a victim. I know cis people cis males who have victim mentality. I mean, to a disgusting, scary degree. Those men need to man up too. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was another thing. I remember being in groups on Facebook, and if I said the word man up, what a trigger. That trigger shit is part of victim stuff. People don't want to let go of that. So is another thing that's tripping them up. But you know what's on the other side of victim mentality? Do you? Do you really? What's on the other side of that is being the creator of your creation called you. Do you know how powerful that is? How much more powerful that is than being a victim? Victim mentality? Woe is me. Somebody did this to me. Somebody did that to me. And blah, blah, blah. It's so tiring to watch people whine about petty bullshit things because they like being victims. When you're on the other side of that, that is not a fruitful conversation. It is not. It's disturbing. It's disgusting and it's disturbing to sit here and watch a grown-ass fucking man whining and crying and sniveling like a victim. And there are way too many groups on Facebook that are full of trans men like this. And nobody's talking about this particular thing. Nobody's talking about why Trans men are afraid to run straight at their manhood. Nobody wants to talk about it because the majority of them are doing that. And they think being controlling and power hungry is the same thing as running at your manhood. No, it ain't. That smells to me like these weak ass motherfucking oppressors. Especially the real racists. You know what's at the bottom of racism? What's behind it? What's fueling it? Fear. How many times have you heard a whole group of white people all of a sudden out of nowhere say that we're the victims? Really? Now, why would they have that kind of mentality? I'm not asking. I don't want a bunch of comments talking about, oh, we're the victim because. I don't care what you're thinking. It's just fucked up and backwards and upside down. You ain't victims. Not of this society, you're not. No. You guys have all the control and the power and the ownership of everything going on in this society. And if you don't, you know somebody who does. Or you're just dirt poor and they don't care about you anyway. But they'll still use you. They'll still use your victim mentality to make you think you're going to get something out of siding with a bunch of morons that aren't giving you shit, but a little pat on the back, pat on the head. It all still comes from a disempowering place. And on the other side of running straight at your manhood, straight at it, embracing it, like you it's just as important as getting hair on your face, or having top surgery, or having bottom surgery, is your mentality. That's the last step that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to discuss. You don't hear it being discussed. You don't see it being discussed in the umpteen million freaking groups on Fuckerbook. You don't see them discussing this amongst each other. You don't even see anybody else calling it out. But by the way, don't be calling it out if you haven't headed there as well. Because you may be exhibiting the same fucking thing trans men, trans women may be exhibiting the same thing that they go and run out and try to confront somebody else about. Have you embraced your femininity, ladies? All of it? Have you? Or are you the same aggressive, controlling, masculine fucking woman running out there that you were as a man when people didn't know what you were? So don't take that as a green light to go running around. You got to have this conversation from a place that you want to learn how to go there. And I swear if that happened, a whole bunch of people would all of a sudden create this. Okay, we as a group of people need to pick up and go that way. Not stay back here where we were as fucking females. Trans women, the way that you were as fucking males. You know what? That would do a whole lot for society, don't you think? Hell, even with, well, okay, I'm not going to get into the trans woman thing because I already said shit that's going to offend them. But for trans men, you know, the makeup, unless you're gay, a gay trans man, you need to stop looking like a female. And there's a YouTube content creator, I ain't even going to bring up his name, irks the shit out of me. But I think he's gay. Yep, I think his partner is a man. So I'll give him a pass on how he looks, how he presents himself. But if you're not gay, why you want to run around looking like you're gay? Now, more than just looks, behavior. That's the hardest part to see about yourself. Now, I saw things about myself, and I still see things about myself, and I give my closest friends and my relatives permission to call me out on that stuff because I want to alter it. I don't want to run around looking. I don't want to run around looking one way and behaving another. Isn't that a definition of something else that goes on in interpersonal relationships? Is people, I think it goes step in step with social media, where there's a whole bunch of people acting one way online, on social media, when they're the exact opposite if you met them in person. I think it goes hand in hand with that. That thing. So, I'm going to come full circle and say, what we created on Fuckerbook is a gold mine for men who want to get big dick energy. BDE. Big dick energy. Now, people say that I have it only because I've worked on myself. I'm not afraid to do self-analysis, because if I don't do self-analysis, the world will. The world will deal with me in harsh manners to come to the realization that I need to alter something. Isn't it better if you have control of that versus getting beat over the head by other people and other things? How many of you have lost someone you dated because they said you weren't man enough? Or how many of you are in relationships, marriages, where your partner your partner was there before and after your transition or during your transition, and they're saying you're not man enough? They're saying that for a reason. But a lot of you hard-headed knuckleheads are not listening because it's too hard for you to look at that shit and change it. It's not easy. It's not easy. It takes some self-efficacy. It takes some, real deep thought. It takes looking at yourself and criticizing yourself versus letting other people criticize you because you're being stubborn. That's what stubbornness gets you. That you get to choose who you want to be at any given moment in time. It leads you to knowing yourself better. Because when you're going through that process, you do get to learn things about yourself you didn't even know. Total blind spot, and then it becomes real clear. Oh, that's why I do that. Or that's why I think this. Or that's why I feel that. All of those things are part of growing up. Part of getting to know yourself. Part of becoming a better person than you were yesterday. Even if you just fucking thinking about something, that's a step towards what I'm talking about. Stop running. Men, stop running from your manhood. Women, stop running from your femininity. This is a conversation that's going on in the cis world too. Imagine that. You know how these idiots that are running around talking about, oh, so-and-so and so-and-so group is trying to feminize men. You can't feminize men who don't want to be feminized. And I don't care if you're talking about boys, young adults, or grown-ass men. You can't do that. You can't have this magic wand and say, boom, okay, now you're feminized. What are you people thinking? What are you smoking that makes you think that somebody can come along and just convince you to be something you're not already before they came along and said something to you? What kind of idiotic fucking thinking is that? That little kids will read something in a book and all of a sudden, oh, they'll want to try that. No, they won't if that's not who they are. They're not going to want to try that at all. And even if they read it, they might bump into what I bumped into, which was, yeah, I think that's what, oh, no, I'm not going there. Well, you see what happened when I tried to do that. I ended up who I really was. I ended up with a freedom and a sense of purpose that I never had in my life before. Now, I've always been very driven, an overachiever, things of that nature. But being that as a man is about 100 times better than when I was doing those things and struggling with who I was. because I've always been mannish in everything that I do. I just didn't identify that way, and so I wasn't appearing to society as who I really was. Nobody's fault. It's just, it took what it took for me to get there. It took all the years of angst and confusion and trials and tribulations for me to finally realize who I am. And it took seeing a trans man, because I didn't know they existed before I saw him. It took seeing that before it, bonked me on the head. And it was like, oh my God. And all these things that I thought as a kid came back to my head. I knew when I was 6 years old that I was a boy, because I had this thought that I was the son that my father didn't know he had. That's all my little young 6-year-old brain could come up with at the time. Then when I was 8, something else happened when I saw a penis, and I've expressed that before. Just a bunch of little things that were going on at the time. But guess what? I am so glad, even though it's been a real slow going to get the men of this group to embrace that, yes, they're full of femininity, which what drew them to the group in the first place. But then they're all sitting there going, waiting to hear magic words out of me. The magic happens as you're doing the damn thing. It doesn't happen because I or they or the admins say something magical to convince you that this is what you need to do. No, you already convinced you. That's why you joined the group. But sitting there, not participating in your own transformation into a man, just leaves you sitting there with what you came in with, which was, I got too much femininity going on inside. I need to unload some of this and learn new things. It all happens in the process of getting there. If you don't do anything, nothing's going to happen. You'll just see this as just another YouTube video and, something to tuck in the back of your head, and you ain't doing shit. You're not taking a step. You're not taking steps towards that. Opening your mouth, having conversations with others that are in the same predicament. Because trust me, I'm telling you, 90 to 95% plus of people are in this predicament being trans. Is not fully embracing who they are. Just doing the physical changes and they think they're done. I know better. My homie knows better. And we're better for knowing it and having gone through years of transforming ourselves. Yep, it happens like that. So you all have a blessed have a blessed week. Geez, mine was just really wild last week. Oh my God. Everything that could happen happened last week. So I'm hoping for a better one for myself. I'm hoping for a grand and great one for you. And the pollinator is out.